Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, a crazy Karen pretends to be the boss at my shop and fires me, thinking that I am a regular employee. She did not realize that I am her boss and I own the business. Here is what happened. And the first one starts like this. Many years back, I decided to open up my own store, and although it's nothing crazy, it's certainly successful. I even ended up moving the shop down the road to a bigger building as I needed more room for merchandise. It was flying off the rails. I even had some thoughts of opening another store, but figured I don't know enough about franchising just yet. Anyway, as the owner, I tend to spend most of my time in the office filling out online orders and ordering new stock for the store, as well as filing paychecks and all that good stuff. I see my employees whenever I'm on break and choose to spend it in the break room, and I would say we all have a good enough relationship. I like to think that I'm not one of those bosses who comes down extremely hard on their employees. So I know most of my employees, and the only ones who I've never met are those who work solely on my days off. There is only one person who falls into this category, let's call her Karen. I hired her online about 6 months before these events happened, and because of discrimination laws she had no profile photo, so we have never seen each other. One Saturday, I decided to go into work with some donuts for my employees, especially as it was the weekend leading up to Christmas, so the store was in pure chaos mode and I wanted to cheer them up. I don't work on a Saturday, so I rocked up in my regular clothes, and I don't dress nice on a regular basis. Jeans and a shirt was my way to go, and that was what I wore. "Can I help you?" someone who I hadn't seen before asked. She was wearing our uniform, and I instantly realized this was the employee I had not seen before. "No, thank you though." "Say, I think you might be..." I started before she put her hand up in my face. "Shh, let me speak before you interrupt with your nonsense. If you don't need help, why are you here?" She stared down her nose at me in the most condescending way possible. I decided to see where she was going with all of this. "Well, I was just going to browse around." "Pfft, not a chance," she remarked. "Sorry?" I was so shocked at the encounter already. "Apology not accepted. We don't let bums into the store, sir. We have nothing here for you. Now please leave." She raised her voice at the end and I could only stare in shock at her. "Firstly, I have not..." I once again started to speak before she cut me off. "Silence! I don't care. I told you to leave. Would you rather I call the police?" At this point she was attracting the attention of some other customers, some who I saw leave, not wanting to witness the argument. "You are making people leave," I commented. "Me? I think you will find it's your confrontational attitude that is doing that, sir. Now get out." She was seriously beginning to raise her voice at this point, so I decided to stop the situation. Or at least I tried to. "Ma'am, I work here. I just happened to be..." For the third time I was interrupted. "You work here?" She began with a chuckle and a shake of her head. "Well then, why on earth would you be in such horrible clothes? This is not the uniform at all." "It's my day off." What is with this attitude? "Do you know who I am? I'm the owner of this store, and I can tell you now that this is the last time you will ever set foot in this building because you're fired." At this point I was more than aghast. The cheek of this woman to be so rude to who she thought was either a customer or a colleague. "Michael, ring the cops and tell them a bum is squatting in our store," Karen screeched at an employee who was passing by. Karen? That is..." said employee began. "Did I ask for your input?" Karen remarked, pointing at the phone near the cash register. Michael glanced at me with a worried look on her face, and I nodded to her as if to say, "Go on, tell her." "That's the owner." Michael spoke. Her voice was soft and timid, and I wondered why she was so nervous speaking to someone who I knew was on the same level as her. Karen was silent, staring at Michael with beady eyes as realization dawned. Now was my chance to cross my arms and stare her down. "Michael, how dare you not tell me sooner?" Karen screeched at her. "Don't you dare to speak to my employees in that manner." I spoke slowly, all authority running into my voice. "Sir, I cannot even believe you're the owner. I've never seen you and I've been working here for 6 months. You always work on my days off and the interview and hiring was done online, remember?" At this point the other employees had come out of the break room to watch the encounter and were all whispering amongst themselves. By the smirks on some of their faces, I had a feeling that Karen was well overdue for some treatment like this. Karen quickly walked into the break room, knocking the shoulders of the other employees. "Well, I got donuts." I shrugged and gestured to them to come forward. They did so and straight away started asking what happened. I'm sure Michael, which by the way I think it should be Michelle, will fill you in. Right now I have some work to do. I strolled into my office passing a crying Karen on the way who was on the phone to her mother saying, "They embarrassed me, made me feel like a fool." Yeah, I hope that's how she feels after that attitude showing. Once in my office, I booted up my laptop and got on call to our HR department who are in the office nearby. I told them about the whole encounter and situation. "Why not just fire her, sir? Her attitude surely warrants it," one of the workers asked. "Well, I would like to do an investigation into her work life first, and I cannot do that if she's not working here." Actually, that's what I called about. I want all of her files pulled up, and would you be able to send out an anonymous survey to my other employees? Make it not seem suspicious and ask the usual "how's your work life" questions, but also add in if they have any issues with a colleague. Thanks. I hung up and started sifting through files until I found hers. These papers listed her previous jobs and I started to go through them in more detail. I found it funny but not shocking that each one only lasted a couple of months. A week later and the survey results were back, the things I read disgusted me. Every single person had complained about her, listing comments she had made which were rude, ignorant and a lot of them racist. That is not what shocked me the most though. HR did an audit of her shifts. And they found that almost every day she had marked herself down as starting a few hours before she did and finishing a few hours later than she had done. She was stealing from us. I gathered up all the evidence and went back into work on a day I knew that she was working too. She was on her break. "Karen, can I ask you why your paychecks for the past few months have been higher than they should have been?" I asked her, trying to remain calm. "I work overtime," she responded sweetly, clearly aware that she was on thin ice. "No, you don't. I have proof here of you saying you clocked in earlier than you did and clocking out later than you did. You have been stealing from my company." I pushed the evidence over to her. She fell silent, staring at me with big pleading eyes. "Sir, I need this job. Please." She clearly knew she was being fired. Not only that, but there have been anonymous reports of yourself being racist to employees and customers. "I don't think I need to tell you what's gonna happen." She burst into tears and ran out of the room and building. I ended up filing a report with the police for the theft and encouraged my employees who were the victims of her racial abuse to report it as well. The combined reports landed her in jail for a serious amount of time, and she also of course had to pay back all the money, which I ended up splitting between my employees to add to their Christmas bonus. And yeah, Ripe Stars, if you enjoy these I Do Work Here Lady stories, then please don't forget to like the video and also leave a comment because that would help me tremendously. The next one is titled "I'm Not Homeless." I worked as a language teacher for a cultural community center. The building was often rented out for different events. Most Fridays we had a dance group come in and host a ballroom dance for about 4 hours. I had a keycard so that I could open up the building, and I was allowed to let the organizers of the dance in when they got there, even if our regular office person was not in yet. I rode the bus and walk with a walking stick. I can totally see that I would look like I don't belong there, so I was not mad about this incident. Anyway, this particular day, I got there and let the organizer in, and then I realized I had a couple things I needed to get from the childcare room for my class that day, because I used some of the toys for my classes when we worked on life skill vocabulary. I did not go to my room first to drop off my coat and backpack, which I should have done. So by the time I got the supplies and was making my way back upstairs, the regular office person had arrived and was letting in vendors catering for the dance. As I was making my way through the lobby, one of the catering crew steps in front of me to block my path. She said, "How did you get in here?" I said, "I work here, I have a keycard." She told me that I did not work there and that she would report me to the office. Just then, the office person came out of the office, took one look at me and told the lady, "She's our language teacher, she belongs here." The lady, red-faced, got out of my way and I walked upstairs to my classroom. And the next one is another I Do Work Here Lady story. So I used to work at the Way of Speed for almost 3 years. I was one of 2 full-time closers. That meant I had a key. We usually closed at 11 PM, but on Friday and Saturday it was midnight. Anyway, now to the story. On this night it was a weekend, so I was gonna be there until midnight. I clean my store, close the tills, lock the door and wait outside for my boyfriend to pick me up. 30 minutes later, he finally shows up. I get in the car and as we are just about to pull away, a lady cop pulls up behind us with lights on. She walks up to the driver's side door and asks what we were doing. I tell her that I work here and I just closed, but my ride, pointing to my boyfriend, was late. Lady cop: "Well, it looks suspicious being in the parking lot after closing." Me: "How is it suspicious that I'm at my job after closing when I'm the one responsible for locking the door?" I even showed her my uniform shirt. LC, well, it's still suspicious. I don't remember everything that was said, but my boyfriend began to argue with her and she eventually let us go home. That was 4 years ago and to this day, I wish I would have just unlocked the store and set off the alarm. And the next one is an Am I the A-hole story. I, 32 male, and my wife, 25 female, are expecting our first child. I've reacted in ways I'm now questioning and need outside perspective. So background, my childhood was a tumultuous one. Growing up, I always craved a strong male figure in my life. I never had that bond with my father and always envisioned having it with a son. My wife was aware of this deep-rooted desire. During her first pregnancy appointments, I was on an essential business trip. These trips, though draining, are critical since I'm the only breadwinner, trying to ensure a different life for my child than I had. In my absence, my wife and her adopted mother attended the checkups, and upon my return, she excitedly told me that we were having a boy. We invested emotionally and financially, a blue nursery, boy-themed items, even naming him after my late grandfather. However, a chance remark from her mother disclosed that we are having a girl. My wife admitted she knew from the beginning but did not tell me, thinking she was protecting my feelings. I was devastated, feeling the weight of past hurts and fresh betrayals. In my pain, I cleared out the nursery and, in a moment I regret, told her mother that she was not welcome at upcoming family events, seeing her as part of the deceit. I acted out of deep-seated emotions and past traumas. I love my wife and regret my actions, but I feel lost. Am I the a-hole for how I responded? And yeah, ripe stars, let me know in the comments what you feel about this. Do you think OP was being the a-hole or not? A user in the comments said, "Everyone sucks here. I cannot imagine why she thought it would be less painful for you to think that you were having a boy and then disappoint you later. Getting your hopes up accomplishes nothing. That said, you very much did overreact in clearing out the nursery and disinviting her mother from coming over. This reaction is crazy, and you talking about this pain and devastation surrounding having a girl is probably the reason that she was afraid to tell you. She probably wants you to be excited about this kid and didn't want to deal with you acting like it's something devastating that it is a girl. Also, you're projecting way too much on an unborn child. What if you did have a boy, but he was not as interested in this intense father-son relationship that you are craving? Can any real-life father-son relationship actually even line up to the one in your head that is supposed to heal your past wounds? Your kids are real people, don't set them up for failure by having all these weird expectations for how they will better your existing traumas. Comment number 2, why would you pack up the nursery? You're still having a baby. That baby will still need all the things in that nursery. Maybe this is a good chance for you to reconsider your attitudes to sex and gender, because spoiler alert, the baby doesn't care what color their clothes and blankets are. Comment number 3, children are not emotional support animals. I'm guessing your wife lied because she was scared of your reaction and also wanted to save her feelings because she knew you would become a huge bummer once you found out. You need therapy immediately to deal with your issue. Any healthy baby that is delivered earth-side is a miracle, no matter the gender. My husband and I have tried for the past 7 years to get pregnant, and I've had 5 miscarriages. Remember just how lucky you are that your wife is pregnant and, assumably, carrying a healthy child. You are the a-hole here. Comment number 4, everyone sucks here. Your wife allowed you to develop a bond with a child who doesn't exist. A-hole and just really stupid. How long did she think she was gonna protect your feelings for? But you seem to have an extreme preference for a boy, not to mention some pretty unrealistic expectations about what a baby can do for you, which makes you a bit of an a-hole yourself. And yeah, ripe stars, I gotta say, I've never seen a thread before on Reddit, especially on r/amItheA-hole, that has so many differing opinions. Very interesting. And the next one is titled Victory over the HOA Karen. My parents, now with an empty nest, just recently moved to a spot with an HOA. My mom had multiple arguments with the president of the HOA for the ridiculous rules almost instantly they moved in. Example, we have a neighbor from Southeast Asia, very nice, sweet, etc. And one day we all had our dogs on the dock. President sees this and does the Carmela Soprano come here signal with her finger and tells our neighbor that she is the only one who cannot have her dog out there. Arguably a racist act. Now, my mom was backed by other members of the community because she stood up for our neighbors in times like these, and this caused my parents to be threatened to be kicked out by the president because mom made this a big deal that day. You don't mess with others when mama is around, especially with that pompous Carmela Soprano finger whack. Pretty sure season 1 episode 1 of Sopranos, for example. Meanwhile, president's kids hang out by the public dock drinking and smoking weed, underage and in VA illegal. For me, 24th male, I did not really care. I did that as a kid, but what I didn't do was leave the solo cups and roaches, aka litter. So I decide to clean their mess when they leave, and while doing so, the president comes down and sees me, a mess and roaches and an already smoked joint. Naturally, she starts screaming at me, asking a whole mess of questions because they don't live there and she doesn't know me, and dials the police saying some strange kid is here and has paraphernalia. First of all, I absolutely look over the age of 21, so that is disrespectful on her part calling me a kid. Second, my eyes were not puffy or red, so I don't think she knew how weed works. I politely ask her to calm down. I explain that I'm cleaning and point to the house where my parents live, and she responds with, "Oh, you're one of them." I cracked. I have never belted the word "what" so loud in my life. My parents and other neighbors hear me and poke their heads out to check it out. At this point, my dad is pissed that I'm causing a scene. He comes out and asks me what the hell I'm doing, and the president interjects him by explaining what is going on. In her eyes, I have littered and have weed, totally understandable. My dad saw what I was doing and I told him that I was going to clean it up before doing so. Naturally, he tries to defuse her, explains I'm his eldest and I'm the one picking up the litter that her own kids and friends just left. Being the kind of person she is, you can likely picture her yourself, scoffs and says her children would never do anything like this. They have done multiple hours of comm service here and other noise about how they've been here all their life and that we recently moved in and don't know how things work around here. My dad and I look at each other knowing we cannot win this without an officer, so we wait because he knows she called the police. As the time went by while waiting, the president was getting more and more agitated because in her eyes, realization of potential truth was setting in. Likely because my dad and I were so calm, my dad and I realized this should be straightforward with the officer. However, it does have potential to go bad for me. Then 2 officers arrive. The president beckons to the officers before they even get the chance to ask what is going on, which is already looking good for me. She explains she found me, an unknown, trespassing on public HOA dock, littering and with weed. The officers then look at me standing next to a middle-aged man who eerily resembles me, this man being my dad. The president at this point was anxious and I could tell she was scared for her and her family on what could transpire. Officers ask us to come closer and explain. My dad takes over, he leaves out the part about her kids and just tells the officers I was cleaning up a mess, some people left. The officers are chill with it, no reason to be here anymore, and they leave. As the officers were getting in their car to leave, the president begins walking away. Presumably home, I don't know where she lived at that time. My father, quite pissed and yet totally in control, orders me to go finish up cleaning and head inside. After that stress, I just do as I am told. My father then asks for the president to hold up. He walks over and they have a chat. I don't pay attention, continue on and head back inside to explain what just happened to my mom and younger brother. 3 weeks later, my mother calls me up at 2:30 on a Wednesday, insert Ari Gold entourage meme, to tell me our immediate neighbor was elected president of the HOA and the former president had a for sale sign on her property. Victory. Look, I don't know what my dad said to her, he refuses to tell me to this day, but whatever he said, it worked and my parents now have no more arguments. Our Southeast Asian neighbor can have her dog on the dock too, and our immediate neighbor got the position he wanted since moving in 8 years ago. Moral of the story, stand up in moments where you feel things are wrong, stand up for those who are unable to stand up for themselves, and lastly, keep your enemy's dirt to yourself. It could get you what you want someday. But above all, never raise your voice in an argument. Staying calm is key. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.